Got some major breaking news. This is huge. As confirmed by satellite imagery, we now have irrefutable evidence that China, Russia, and the United States are all simultaneously, in relative secrecy, building out their nuclear weapons testing facilities. Okay? We're talking about in the deserts of China, up there in the Arctic in Russia, as well as in the Nevada desert. They're all getting ready to start nuclear weapons testing again. Now, the testing itself, while it might be integral to some of the planning of some of these countries' strategic capability, it's not so much that. It's the signaling to the other side. What's likely happened here is in the run-up to all of this chaos, because all of this has happened in the past year, mostly, for most of these countries, as confirmed by satellite imagery. This is all open source, declassified information. This is on the legacy news networks. A report just came out today. Trusted news sources, so don't take it from the crazy guy in the cowboy hat. This is what is happening right now. Now, the reason why this happens is because in the run-up to everything that we see going on, as the United States prepares to go to war directly with Russia, which is what is about to happen, guys, you have the Russians try to do this gesturing, this posturing, this signaling, telegraphing to the other side that, hey, if you keep making a move in the conventional way that you're doing by fighting this proxy war on our border, we are going to start nuclear testing. Now, they don't come out and say that. They just start building up the facilities. And understand that all of those three countries have satellites with eyes on the ground that tell them whether or not there is activity in these testing locations. Not just the testing locations, but throughout all of their facilities, their nuclear strategic arsenal, command and control, all that stuff. They have eyes on it 24/7. Now, in this case, what has happened likely is that maybe Russia decided, well, we're going to start to commence nuclear weapons testing, so they start building out their bases. The United States sees this, so they say, well, we can't let you just do that on your own. We're going to now have to do it too. China follows in suit. Now they're all building up their facilities. They're digging tunnels. They're building buildings in order to, conduct this type of research. Is this just going to be testing? Is it going to be simulation exercises? Or is this all just a front for a major nuclear offensive? Remember that the United States modified its first strike policy to allow for a first use of nuclear weapons in the revision of their nuclear doctrine last year. This is all happening, and I'm telling you, it is getting very, very dangerously close. Everything we have said on this channel has happened. From the ATACMS confirmed to be delivered to Ukraine today, Joe Biden has confirmed that they will be sending ATACMS long-range missiles to Ukraine. We've been saying that for the longest time. A lot of people said, it's never going to happen. They've always downplayed this relationship with Zelensky, saying that they're going to abandon him, and this is copium. They're never going to abandon him because it's integral to the United States macroeconomic dominance, their financial hegemony. They absolutely have to keep Russia and China contained. I'm not saying this is what I want. This is from the perspective of an objectivist, a realist. In order to truly understand what's going on, you have to be somewhat impartial to the outcome. Now, obviously, I'm partial to the outcome because I'm here in the West, but I can still try to look at things objectively, and that is what's happening. Joe Biden admitted today, when asked by a member of the press, I don't think it was a press conference, he was had some kind of negotiation or discussion with the Republicans, Democrats about what the status of the Ukraine war is going to be if there was a government shutdown. And he basically said, when the reporter asked him that, how can you justify making Ukraine funding exempt from a government shutdown? Because that's what they're going to do. When the government, if and when the government shuts down once again, they're going to pass some sort of bill that allows them to continue to fund Ukraine even if the government shuts down. And she asked him, how can you justify this? And he said, there is no alternative. There is no alternative. We must persist. In fact, I have the exact video clip here. You can go and watch it if you want, but he said there's no alternative. A lot of people take that to mean, oh, Biden's a dictator, he's an authoritarian. No, what he means is that this is a bipartisan issue. Doesn't matter if Trump gets in there. Doesn't matter if Pierre Poilievre takes over here in Canada. This is bipartisan. The prospect for a diplomatic, non-military negotiated peace deal is completely off the table, and they're going to make sure that no matter who gets into power, it is going to be completely off the table, because everybody realizes that if they cannot contain the Russians, again, this is not what I want. This is just how it is. And maybe if we got into their state of thinking, we would understand more. But he's basically saying, when he said there is no alternative, that they have no choice. If they want to keep the economy going and they don't want to have complete economic collapse, they have to keep the war going. Now, I know that sounds crazy, understanding that the United States has already accrued, 1.3 trillion in debt. Is it this year or this quarter? I can't even remember anymore. I mean, and you think about how much they've given to Ukraine out of that, it's still a small fraction of what they've, the debt that they've accrued. So the only way they can continue to accrue debt is if the financial system remains robust and they are viewed as a viable option for using for dollar-denominated assets. And that's the only way that they can continue this whole game, is if they can keep the financial system together. And the only way they do that is by not letting Russia absorb those four annexed territories, exploiting its industrial potential, growing in population size, and getting together with the BRICS nations in order to possibly create some alternative currency down the road. Anyways, this is getting bad. We got depleted uranium, we got tanks, we got long-range missiles, we got drones, we got reconnaissance, we got Patriot systems, HIMARS, we got cluster munitions. It's all coming there. You're probably going to get F-35s and tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine and boots on the ground. It's all coming, because what has happened today is completely unprecedented. They possibly have murked the Admiral of the Black Sea Fleet. And the Russians are being very, very quiet about this, which is kind of scary. If you go on any major Russian mainstream platform, be it RT, RIA Novosti, Sputnik, they're all being very tight-lipped about what has happened in Sevastopol today. What happened there is the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet got completely frickin' murked by a Storm Shadow missile, no less. Now, this is why this is so important. You potentially have the death of the top admiral in the Russian Navy in the Black Sea. You have, knowingly, that this was a Storm Shadow British missile. We also have, at the time that this happened, we have a United States recon plane that was in and around the Romania region, possibly doing some sort of reconnaissance for the Ukrainians to target the headquarters. You have a massive cyber attack that happened right before or while this was happening. And all of this is to slowly, gradually try to attrit the Russians and cut their supply lines. That's what this is all about right now. So anybody saying that Ukraine is out of this fight and the United States is going to abandon Zelensky, just don't listen to them. It's not, this is my preference. This is just what I see. They're just being piecemeal with respect to their administration of various weapon systems, so not to elicit an immediate nuclear response from the Russians. Don't believe when they say, oh, we're just going to give them a couple ATACMS. I think the verbiage that they're using now in the media is, yeah, we're going to send a handful, a small handful, or a small amount of ATACMS. Doesn't matter. The seal's broken. They're going to keep sending them. They're going to send them in the hundreds, possibly in the thousands at some point, okay? So it's much harder to get from one ATACMS to 1,000 than it is to get from 0 to 1, because you have to get the population to accept that fact first. They're going to send the Taurus long-range weapons from Germany after this. It's just a step-by-step gradual escalation. There are so many data points to consider here, guys. I can't possibly go over it all, but what we know is that they're redeploying 10,000 more troops to the Robotyne and Zaporozhye area. And where that is right here. They claim to have definitively breach the Saravikan defensive line, if they can continue to push through and they actually make a breakthrough in the south, all the while pushing back the Russians' Black Sea fleet, then we got a very, very dangerous situation on our hands. We have a nuclear situation on our hands. I don't see how it doesn't go nuclear. I mean, already every single possible red line has been crossed. There's not many more red lines that can be crossed at this point in time. ATACMS was once thought unheard of. F-16s once thought unheard of. Anyways, we know that this situation is getting out of control fast. They can't anymore contain the truth about how fast it's escalating. Russia is planning on a massive defense spending hike. They're going to double what they openly and declassified. They're going to double what they spend on the military. But what people need to understand is that 30% of the Russian budget is a black budget. So it's very likely that 30% is going towards things that we talked about earlier, like the nuclear weapons testing facilities, possibly their strategic facilities, continuity of government facilities, digging bunkers and God knows where, underground cities. And remember that the technology to dig these bunkers has improved drastically in the last 50 to 70 years when the Cold War was at its peak. They can probably do things now that are just, unimaginable. And just remember that all of these sites are classified. People reference things like Cheyenne Mountain, Raven Rock, but that's not the extent of the government's continuity of government plan, because the ease of digging these tunnels has become, it's become a lot easier to do, so you can bet that they have a plan to ride out the proverbial end of days if it comes to that, and you better as well. Russia is already restricting gasoline and diesel fuel exports. They're doing this to try to stabilize prices at home, which is strange because Russia's gasoline and diesel prices are already way lower than ours, relatively speaking, but they got to keep the population happy. If Russia is restricting gasoline and diesel fuel exports, then that is definitely going to have an impact on the global economy as well. And it's just a sign that countries are starting to hoard stuff. China, like I talked about in the last video, they're hoarding all kinds of stuff. On the topic of China, we'll probably not go too deep into this today, but I just got an email from a person who seems to provide a lot of reliable information. They provided these very useful graphs that show that in September of 2023, we've seen all kinds of records with respect to China's militarization in and around Taiwan. We have 20 ships deployed in a single day, which is a new record. We have the highest total record ever in August in terms of ships tracked in and around the Taiwan Strait. We have a record amount of warplanes detected in Taiwan in September of 2023. 103 warplanes detected. We're already reaching record highs in terms of the amount of planes detected. And the idea is that one of these days, it is just going to be the tip of the spear, and that's when they're actually going to start the full-scale offensive, and it's going to be unannounced. What they're trying to do right now is trick the Taiwanese capability to respond. Every time the Chinese send more warplanes towards the Taiwan airspace, Taiwan has to scramble jets. It takes its toll on their military. It costs money to do that. They put mileage on their planes. And Taiwan is an island. So unless it can be resupplied from its allies like the United States, then it's going to be in a lot of trouble. And a lot of people think that it's going to be some sort of naval blockade that forces the Taiwanese to comply and come to terms with being a part of China. So what else do we got to talk about? There's some acts of sabotage in Russia happening on a daily basis. Claims swirl around sabotage raid on airbase near Moscow. We got a couple planes destroyed. We got satellite images confirming that they're building nuclear weapons testing facilities. Poland makes a U-turn on Ukraine aid. Now, there's a lot of copium going on right now. And I respect this individual. They post a lot of very insightful things, armchair warlord, and he talks about, okay, this is 2 days ago, he writes this comment, right? And I see this and I'm like, okay, this guy's out to lunch. This is what he says. This is the gist of what he says, all right? U.S. denies ATACMS to Ukraine, okay? U.S. has handed over a paltry $325 million aid package to Zelensky during his visit, and Poland has declared an end to military support for Ukraine. Yada, 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 it's over. Ukraine has lost the war. And I see this and I just have to respond, okay? Remember, this is 2 days ago now. This is what I say. I say, or Poland will get a talking to by Uncle Sam if they want any of their $100 billion in U.S. weapons deliveries. The grain price drop is the premium. The grain price drop is a result of allowing Ukraine grain to flow into the Polish market, thus reducing the profitability of Polish farmers. Anyways, the grain price drop, and this is kind of a cheeky thing I threw in there, the grain price drop is the premium paid to be the next in line for the military-industrial complex meat grinder and get their hands on all those HIMARS and F-35s. If Poland doesn't play ball with the whole Ukraine scheme, the United States says, okay, you're not getting any weapons. You know how Poland just seems to have this blank check somehow to go into perpetual amounts of debt to buy weapon systems? How they're doing it, I don't know. When they have this huge swell of Ukrainian refugees, how possibly is their population even staying afloat or solvent? I have no idea. I say the fact is that there's any conversation about ATACMS means that they will get them. And it looks as though ATACMS have been confirmed officially. They're getting them. What a surprise. It's probably about the logistics, how to ensure they don't get immediately destroyed. $24 billion in aid will be approved by the majority in the House and the Senate who support it. Remember, they're going to make an exemption so that even if the government gets shut down, I don't know how the political system works there. Apparently, Rand Paul is going to do something that might cause some sort of government shutdown. And, that's going to slow or stifle their ability to get this $24 billion in aid package pushed through for Ukraine. But it's not going to matter, because they're going to make an exemption. And remember, this is bipartisan. The overwhelming majority of politicians support this war for some reason. I think it's because of, the fact that if our economy, if we cannot be the global reserve currency, then everything just collapses. I think that's why. Zelensky gets a standing ovation from everybody in the Canadian Parliament today. That's why. Let's not forget that Russia has met with North Korea and Iran in the same week. They are being heavily attrited, as evidenced by the fact that they're now rationing diesel and gasoline. Look at the Black Sea situation turning in NATO's favor. This was before the attack on Sevastopol headquarters. So, it was a clean sweep with this comment, with this guy. Honestly, he does have very thoughtful tweets, and I do appreciate the thought that he puts into his tweets. He's just completely dead wrong about all this stuff, okay? They're absolutely not going to relent in their support for Ukraine at all. They're going full steam ahead. Make no mistake about it. I regret to inform you, that is what it is. They're launching F-35s from highways, getting ready, because what they want to do, and this is scary too, so they're... Think about why they do these things. When you see this, ask yourself, why are they doing this? F-35 has flown from a highway for the first time. Well, what they're trying to do, and they've already been doing this with the UK Air Force, I do believe, they're trying to spread the planes out. Why would you do that? Nuclear war. That's why you do that. I hate to be histrionic about it, that's the truth. You spread the planes out, but you can only spread them out if they're useful. They're only useful if you have a runway to utilize them. Well, they're spreading out. They want to test out if these things can launch from highways, from frickin' gravel roads. I don't know, like lawns, even parks. They want to spread it all out so that if the shit hits the fan and the nuclear weapons start to drop, nothing is concentrated in one place. This also potentially makes it less tactically and strategically useful to use nuclear weapons if the forces are all spread out. And if you can launch an F-35 off a highway, why have them all concentrated in and around an airport? Something to think about. You guys are going to have to forgive me. I am very tired today. It's been a very, very long week, but I'm doing my level best to try to get through this here. I've been doing some Tactical training with my made man, Rod Giltaka, the CCFR, riding horses, my butt's sore. Everything is just, we're trying to get it in while the getting is good. And I want to make sure I cover all the bases here today. Now, I want to address this clown right here, and that's what this guy is. He's a charlatan. He's a dilettante. He's just, this is why people like me, crazy guys with me with the cowboy hat, get misconstrued as being the crazy guy. Did I just call myself crazy and not crazy in the same sentence? Yes, but this guy was spreading some, hearsay, rumor, just bullshit, essentially, about how this October 4th emergency alert test, in which every American is going to get a message sent to their phone. It's going to be a test. It's only a test of the emergency alert system. And what this is, it's a preparation for nuclear war. Okay, and they're going to say it's a national emergency, blah, blah, blah. It's a preparation for a nuclear Armageddon. That's one of the few cases where you'd actually need to use something like that. Anyways, this clown is already starting to push forth the idea that this is sending signals to the phone and it's going to mess with people's brain waves and blah, 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 blah. Every single time they do this, I almost think they send people like this out there because it takes away from the realistic, the highly probable risk of a real deal nuclear war. It's not about manipulating your brain frequency and all that. They could do that without sending you a message on your phone. Anyways, he deleted the video. I'm sure somebody probably reported him because, I mean, it's just, I didn't report him. I don't report people. I want to let the free market of ideas sort things out. But very, very dangerous to just presume that, oh, the real reason why they're doing it is because they're trying to control everybody's thoughts with the phone. And it's not what it is. It's preparing us for, hitting the deck and ducking and covering, so that all the elites can get to their bunkers safely and we stay off the roads. Now, the U.S. is buying a record amount of Russian fertilizers. Why would they do this? Everybody's saying, see, the Russia, it's all just a farce. The Putin and Biden are playing golf in one of their secret bug-out locations somewhere, and this is all just a facade. No. The reason why they're buying record amounts of nuclear fuel, record amounts of fertilizer, why do you think they're doing this right now? What could possibly be the reason why they're trying to load up on what the Russians have and they don't? Could it be because at some point they're not going to be able to trade with the Russians because they're going to be at war? Yes. Ding, ding, ding. Rocket science, isn't it? Sorry, I'm not directing my sarcasm towards you guys. It's just the odd troll out there. Biden's UN war speech paves the way for a direct clash with Russia. And it does. Basically, this is the kind of speech that you give before you go to war with a country. Okay? So it is what it is. The Pentagon has decided to exempt Ukraine operations for potential shutdown if lawmakers can't agree on a deal by the end of the month, allowing key training and other activities in support of Kiev's forces to move ahead uninterrupted. Oh, and guess what? Remember when I was talking about how they're going to regulate the internet right around the time that World War III kicks off? Well, Canada launching UN declaration pledging measures on online disinformation. 27 countries have signed the document, including Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, blah, blah, blah. All the usual suspects getting ready to crack down on online disinformation. And you see, guys like this, these are the guys that give them the license that they need to do this shit. It's not people like me, because everything I say you can go and fact check. And yes, I speculate from time to time, but everything we say has come true ultimately. Typically, there's just a bit of a delay. There's a bit of a lag with these things, but it all happens. And yes, Justin Trudeau, $650 million in aid for Ukraine, a paltry $650 million. Telling you guys are never going to turn the back on Ukraine. And Poland got a talking to as a result of this. You're not going to get any weapons if you don't play ball. That's basically what they said. What else do we have to talk about? I think that's about everything. Okay, let's just take a look at these bases, okay? So, new construction at Russia's Novaya Zemlya nuclear test site. That's way up here on this massive island up here. That's where they've done all kinds of nuclear weapons testing, and you can see there's new buildings, there's construction cranes, and this is in June of 2023, all right? You got all these buildings under construction. Now the US, they're going to see this, and they're going to be like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I'm just going to read you a little excerpt of this CNN article. There you go, trusted media source. The Russian test site is now open year-round. We see them clearing off snow roads, building new facilities, investigators have said. There are also tunnels, digging tunnels deep into the Arctic mountains. Why would you ever want to do that? You remember that seed vault in Norway? Never forget about the Doomsday Seed Vault in Norway, which is a global initiative, okay? Near those facilities are tunnels where Russia has tested in the past. In the past 5 or 6 years, we've seen Russia dig new tunnels, which suggests that they are prepared to resume nuclear testing. And of course, this has accelerated in the past 18 months and the past several months, as you had the suspension of numerous nuclear arms treaties. It's pretty clear to me that the Russians are gearing up for a possible nuclear test, said former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer Leighton. I'm not sure what his first name is. In terms of what China is doing, they're doing something very similar. And remember, China hasn't had the benefit of doing all those nuclear weapons tests during the Cold War. So if they want to master tactical nuclear weaponry, we can presume that they're going to have to do nuclear weapons testing. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but apparently there's a way they can do the nuclear testing without a giant nuclear explosion. They can simulate it somehow. Is that what they're going to do? Who knows? But satellite images show a new fifth underground tunnel that has been under excavation in recent years, and fresh roads have been built. A comparison of the images taken in 2022 and 2023 shows the spoil pile has been steadily increasing in size, leading analysts to believe that the tunnels are being expanded. So they're expanding their nuclear test sites just like the Russians and the Americans. And the Americans are doing the same over here in Nevada. We can see in September of 2018, this is what it looked like. And in July of 2023, this is what it looked like. Okay, this is what their nuclear weapons testing facility looked like. Now, I just thought of this. This is CNN, right? So notice how they've shown a side-by-side of the American, but they didn't show a side-by-side of the Russian. So we're to presume that it was the Russians that initiated this arms race. But what if it was actually the Americans and the Russians are doing this in response to the Americans? Now, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who started it. The only thing that matters is mutually assured destruction, the end of the world as we know it, while all the elites continue to eat their freeze-dry wholesale food in their bunkers for decades and decades until it's safe enough to come to the surface and grow food and make us all slaves once again. Let me know what you guys think about all this, man. I tell you, it is crazy. You got to keep on prepping. Do not relent, but please enjoy yourself. Enjoy your families. Our time on here is only temporary. And on here, I mean this planet. We can't be overly consumed by these mundane, earthly threats to our lives, to our existence. But indeed, as pragmatic, prudent preppers, we got to take these things into consideration. And prepping is just about being ahead of the curve. Because if you know the shizzy's going to hit the fizzy, then man, you got to be getting rizzy. Look at this. Look at these elites. Their auspicious, their audacious opulence, while the rest of us deal with inflation, record high rent costs, just sky high everything. This is what they're doing right now in the Palace of Versailles. I can't remember exactly where this is, but it's all, you know, Macron and King Charles and all the VIPs, right? And just think about this is what's happening while guys are getting blown to bits on the front line. This is what these people are doing. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, they ain't going to tell you when the shit's going to hit. You think these people are going to tell you when the shit's going to hit the fan? You really think these people right here are going to tell you when the shit's going to hit the fan? This is happening while guys are being blown limb from limb in a trench. This is what these people are doing. You think they're going to tell you that things are going to get bad? You think they're going to tell you that the market's about to crash? You think they're going to tell you, hey, yeah, we're going to have to start rationing shit? They ain't going to tell you nothing, man. Nothing. Warren Buffett's already talking about the next pandemic and chemical, nuclear, biological threats. We'll save that for another day, guys. I got to go. I'm losing my voice. I'm getting sick. I'm getting tired. And I got to go have a little bit of a rest. We'll see you maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. I'm not sure. Take care. Bye.
It is now confirmed. There is a government agenda to remove Russell Brand from polite conversation, to take away his livelihood and silence him. It's a fact. It is not a conspiracy theory. I will say it once more. It's proven. From the Post-Millennial, UK Parliament sends letters to social media platforms demanding demonetization of Russell Brand. We covered this last night on Timcast IRL, but we do have some new developments. Now Elon Musk is being targeted with activists, and yes, even political activists, and yes, government officials demanding Russell Brand be demonetized. Why? Has he been convicted of a crime? Has he violated any of the policies of these platforms? No. He was simply accused in I believe it was the Sunday Times. Several news articles have come out talking about impropriety, allegations of abuse and assault against Russell Brand, and that's just it, allegations. But more importantly, there's the more serious question. Even if Russell Brand is guilty, should he not be allowed to do his job? Let's frame this in another way. If a man is an auto mechanic and he robs a liquor store and is caught, should he be fired from his shop? Why? He'll go to jail and maybe do some time. Maybe if he's found guilty of robbing a liquor store, there will be penalties. And then he goes back to work. Is the boss going to say, I can't have someone here who robbed a liquor store? Maybe. Maybe. But we have to think about what this means and what they're proposing. First, there's an outright government agenda against Russell Brand. And I want to tell you guys about the worst timed article in the history of the media. Okay, it's not really true, but just as of right now, I want to gloat and mock the Daily Beast. It's almost too perfect, really. You see, they're trying to reframe the narrative. What is actually happening? Russell Brand is accused, and a member of the UK Parliament admits to contacting various networks to get Russell Brand's content removed and reaching out to social media platforms to take away his income. TikTok and Rumble, I'm not sure about TikTok, but I know Rumble said pound sand to the UK government. Now, here's the fun part. This article from the Daily Beast, the deep state didn't frame Russell Brand, you idiots. And there it is, the reframing of the conspiracy theory. Perhaps it's not the worst timed article. It's the most perfectly timed article. Why? The article was published September 20th, 2023 at 3:31 p.m., reframing the conspiracy theory from there is an agenda to silence Russell Brand into they made up fake allegations against Russell Brand to silence him. You see what I'm saying? The theory, Russell Brand comes out and says there may be a greater agenda here. And maybe a component of this is that Russell Brand is being framed. I don't think that was the core of the allegation. However, when people were talking about an agenda against Russell Brand, it's surfacing decades-old allegations, which may be out of context or otherwise, at a time when the media was celebrating and supporting Russell Brand. All of a sudden now, they have a problem with him. You see, let me show you this story from the Post-Millennial. 2 tweets. Mario Nawfal comes out at 3:38 p.m. Wow. You mean 7 minutes after the publishing of this Daily Beast article, emails were leaked from the UK government to TikTok? And Rumble posted 3:54 p.m. their letter from the UK Parliament as well. So we're talking about within a few minutes to about a half an hour before the release of these emails proving definitively that the UK government, for which Russell Brand is a citizen, is targeting him to silence him. Shortly after, or shortly before this definitive proof comes out, the Daily Beast publishes an article saying they did not frame him, which reframes the conspiracy theory. You see, it's probably the worst timed article or the best. Why? Now that we know that there is a government agenda against Russell Brand, Daily Beast now changes the narrative to argue that it's the deep state, in fact, framing him. Whoa, that's a more extreme interpretation of the original question that was asked about what was going on with Russell Brand and his content and this story. The initial question is there an agenda to silence him, to shut him down over what he said about Big Pharma, the war in Ukraine, the military-industrial complex? Is there? Now, all of a sudden, the conspiracy theory is being reframed by the Daily Beast to the deep state didn't frame him. You see how this works? Masterfully done, or worst timing ever. I don't know. Pick one. Because when I see this story, I can just say one thing. It doesn't matter what the Daily Beast is saying about trying to reframe the narrative. The conspiracy theory was proven true in less than a week. Now, for those that didn't see it, I'll give you the quick breakdown of what's happening with Russell Brand, but we do have more developments. We have this from 21 minutes ago. Elon Musk faces questions over comedian's Twitter status after coming to his defense. And Elon Musk also said, pound sand. We are winning, my friends. Simply put, they shut down Alex Jones. They shut down Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, Milo Yiannopoulos, Laura Loomer, all at the same time, basically. Why? Well, I think when you look at this story about Elon Musk, and thanks to our good friends over at Rumble, as well as Elon Musk, Mario Nawfal publishing this information from TikTok. I'm not sure where he got it, but shout out to TikTok for however they got, released this email. Thanks to individuals at these organizations, we now know what they're doing. Thanks to lawsuits and the work of diligent activists and lawyers, we know that Twitter was colluding with the federal government. These things are all proven. Thus, Alex Jones' removal, how much do you want to bet it was orchestrated by U.S. intelligence agencies or government officials? It's probably a fact. Alex Berenson, journalist, we know because he won a lawsuit that he did not break any Twitter rules. Or I think it's fair to say like he broke a couple, but they told him outright, he had just don't do it again. We won't ban you, but then banned him anyway. Why? Because the government said, government agents, officials said, why aren't you removing this man? And they said, you got it, boss. It's a fact. It's confirmed and it's proven. I love this. Over on the good old Tim Pool Wikipedia page, they entertain this. They express the idea as though it's a conspiracy theory. When I said that conservatives face disproportionate penalties and censorship on these platforms. And I've been saying that for a long time. Why? Because Gizmodo reported it as definitive fact. And then all of a sudden, they act like it's a conspiracy theory. This is the weirdest thing about the modern media. Gizmodo in 2016 says Facebook was censoring conservative news sources. I go, whoa, Facebook was censoring conservative news sources, and say Tim Pool's a conspiracy theorist. What? Whatever, man. A large component of this really does seem like the goal of the international World Economic Forum, Davos types, elitist, American Uniparty, whatever this powerful group of individuals, a CFR, Trilateral Commission, whatever, you name the group. It seems like a large component is, as Alex Jones described, they will lay bear traps, tell you the bear traps are there, and then say it's your fault for stepping in them. Let me break this down for those that haven't seen it. I know I'm already getting too much into the weeds without showing you the important context for those that missed it. Rumble issued a statement saying that although it may be politically and socially easier for Rumble to join a cancel culture mob, doing so would be a violation of our company's values and mission. We emphatically reject the UK Parliament's demands. And this is what they said. They said, we are looking at Russell Brand use of social media, including on Rumble, where he issued his preemptive response to the accusations made against him by the Sunday Times and Channel 4's dispatches. While we recognize that Rumble is not the creator of the content published by Mr. Brand, we are concerned that he may be able to profit from his content on the platform. You know what that is. That's called a shakedown. We would be grateful if you could confirm whether Mr. Brand is able to monetize his content, including his videos relating to the serious accusations against him. If so, we would like to know whether Rumble intends to join YouTube in suspending Mr. Brand's ability to earn money on the platform. We also would like to know what Rumble is doing to ensure that creators are not able to use the platform to undermine the welfare of victims of inappropriate and potentially illegal behavior. Incredible. They're losing. They are abject evil. They are corrupt. I will say it again. There is no question in my mind. These people are evil. This is lawful evil. It is malicious evil. Evil people seek, so it depends on how you want to break down your view of evil, but my view of it tends to relate to destruction, and it tends to relate to personal benefit at the sacrifice of individual rights and liberties. Goodness is creation and self-sacrifice, recognizing that you will face hardships, but you will do what you can to maximize goodness and creation. Now, I'm sure these people are making the argument that for the greater good, we must take immoral actions against Russell Brand. No, that's degradation, chaos, and it leads to hatred, animosity, instability in governance. And with the exposure of this, it only increases the rate at which the narrative machine will continue to break and confidence in our institutions will shatter. Meaning, you're losing, deep state. I love this. Here's the latest development. Russell Brand news. That's what it says. Elon Musk faces questions. They say, over at The Independent, Elon Musk is facing questions from a senior MP over Russell Brand's Twitter status, in the wake of a slew of allegations. Culture, Media, and Sports Committee Chairwoman Dame Carolyn Dinenage asked Mr. Musk, who recently changed Twitter name to X, if he has personally intervened in any decisions on Russell Brand's status on the platform. The question comes after Mr. Musk was quick to respond to Brand's video Friday, in which the comedian strenuously denied various allegations. In the communication to its chief executive, Linda Yaccarino, Carolyn also asked if X would be suspending Mr. Brand's ability to earn money on the platform. There it is. It's not just Rumble, TikTok. We know from this letter, let me show you, that they said they've reached out to other networks as well. Let me pull this one up. Let's pull up the full tweet from Rumble. This is where they basically admit it. They say, the Culture, Media, and Sport Committee is raising questions with the broadcasters and production companies who previously employed Mr. Brand to examine both the culture of the industry in the past and whether that culture still prevails today. Simply put, the UK government has contacted broadcasters. So when Russell Brand's content is being removed from networks, you now know. Why did YouTube ban Russell Brand? Because they work at the behest of Western government. Now, I think Russell Brand should sue YouTube for defamation, and I certainly hope he does. I don't know, maybe he doesn't win. And to be fair, look, I've been on the back end of allegations, smears, lies, etc. It is really, really difficult to sue. And a lot of lawyers outright just say, there's no point, you won't win. Have a nice day. And, I reject that. Some people have told me that I should sue insert company for various reasons, and you can't. But I wonder, and I don't know for sure, if Russell Brand has a defamation per se argument against YouTube. Because YouTube said they're demonetizing Russell Brand because they take off-platform behavior into account. Really? That is to imply YouTube has said Russell Brand is a rapist. That's defamation per se. Defamation per se is separate from standard defamation in that it doesn't require the Times v. Sullivan actual malice standard nor damages. Defamation per se is defamation so egregious that in and of itself, it is viewed as damaging to the person's reputation. When it comes to defamation for public figures, if they say Russell Brand, did X, they said that, he sold off his company. Let's say Russell Brand broke the trust of his business associates, selling a company and effectively hurting them in the process. That's not defamation per se. You would say, hey, that's not true. That never happened. My business associates were well compensated. You can't accuse me of that. They'll say, what damages did you face? This is the actual malice standard. I don't know about the UK, but in the US, prove that the person who said this knew they were lying and show us what your damages were. Otherwise, they're allowed to lie about you. No kidding. You can lie about someone in the press so long as no one can prove you knew you were lying and they don't suffer damages from it. So if you said that someone kicked the dog, That's not defamation per se. And then what's the damages from accusing someone of that? So, for instance, you have one organization accusing me of spreading election misinformation. How do you prove damages from that? Well, the reality is the defamation does hurt. They will use that as a pretext to take away sponsors and try and shut you down. But you can't prove the connection, so the courts throw you out. Plus, how do you prove the individual knew they were lying? Of course we know they know they're lying. Prove it. For defamation per se, accusing Russell Brand of offline behavior that warrants suspension of his monetization, they're flat out saying he's a rapist. Well, okay. Now that's defamation per se. Now Russell Brand should sue. Here's the reframing. I love this stuff. The deep state didn't frame Russell Brand, you idiots. They say there are some things that are unknowable, but without a scintilla of evidence should not be entertained as serious. One of those is the notion that a conspiracy of institutions, the mainstream media, pharmaceutical companies, center-left politicians, and other monsters of the cathedral. I love that they use the cathedral. Shout out to Michael Malice. Has manufactured. I wonder if they actually cite him in there. What is this? The cathedral? Pushing total BS misinformation, blah, blah, blah. This is from November of 2022. Where do they mention the cathedral? Yeah, here we go. Curtis Yarvin credits himself for coining the phrase, which he defines as the cathedral is just a short way of saying journalism plus academia. Ah, very interesting. Anyway, he says, Brand has been accused by 4 women, etc., etc. This is stupid, full stop, and anyone pushing this idea has revealed themselves as a deeply unserious person. Okay, he says, here, let me clarify. He says a narrative is immediately formed not only among professional liars like Alex Jones and other trolls, but also from the mouths of mainstream right-wing commentators that Brand is being persecuted by a vast conspiracy because of his anti-establishment commentary. Let's put a pause on there, good sir, Anthony L. Fisher. Ooh, do you have egg on your face? Because only a few minutes after you posted this, it was proven definitively that UK government elements are admitting to contacting networks and social media platforms to have Russell Brand shut down. Oh, now hold on. Don't play the game where you're like, no, they simply inquired as to whether or not any action would be taken against him. Yeah, okay. Dude, sad, really. When someone comes to your business with a baseball bat and they say, hey, it'd be a shame if someone came in here and roughed up your business and stole from you, but don't worry, we're going to protect you. Cost a little bit of the green. You're going to pay it, right? Would be unfortunate if you didn't, if you know what I mean. Hey, I got a story for you. I got mugged once. Hilarious, because I was broke as broke can be. I had an empty wallet. Seriously, I had a wallet, literally just an ID in it. And I have credit cards and I have a debit card. Had no money. And I didn't even know I had it, but I was like, not going to put my ID in my pocket, I guess. And a guy, so as I'm crossing the street, this is in, where was this? Lincoln Park in Chicago. Tall guy, he's probably like 6'4", 6'5", says, hey man, I need some money right now. Can you give me some money? I'm trying to do the right thing and just ask you to help me out. And I was like, sorry, man, I'm broke. I don't have any money. And he goes, no, I know you got money. I know you got money and you're going to do the right thing. I don't want things to get bad, if you know what I'm saying. So why don't you help me out and give me some money? And then I laughed, pulled out my wallet, and I was like, brother, I have no money. And he goes, you think I'm stupid? I know you got money in your shoe. And I'm telling you, I got a knife. And I'm just saying, why don't you give me some money? Uh-huh. Oh, he had a knife on him. What happened? He got arrested. Crazy story. A cop came out of nowhere, grabbed the guy, slammed him up against a fence, and screamed, not in my town. The guy had, I forgot what it's called, but a guy was following behind in case things went bad. But bro, I'm like, I started laughing. As it turns out, and I've told the story before, when they were taking his information down and arresting him, they asked me if I would sign the complaint, and I did. And I saw the guy's address, and he lived a few blocks away from me. No joke. He was like neighbor. He was next door neighbors with one of my friends. And so I was like, I started laughing and I was like, bro, I live in the same neighborhood. You live next to Owen. And he was like, you know Owen? And I'm like, you dumbass. He thought because I was in Lincoln Park, I must have money. Dude accidentally tried to mug another poor South Sider. But that's what they do. They go to the North Side. Anyway, I find it hilarious that what this guy is doing, he didn't come up to me and say, give me all your money or I will hurt you. He said, I'm trying to do the right thing and you could get hurt. Why don't you just give me some money? One thing that muggers have started to do in a lot of cities is quote unquote panhandle. That's right, panhandle, because it's not illegal to panhandle. And so here's what happens. A guy will walk up to you and say, hey man, I'm really hungry. Can you give me money? if you know what I mean. And then what happens is the police have instructed everybody, especially in Chicago, just to hand over your money when you're being mugged. These uppity, well-to-do liberal types panic and they say, just take it, please. Then they call the police. And this guy who, quote unquote, mugged the dude doesn't think 2 seconds, doesn't fret at all about it, smiles and waves, says, thank you so much, and casually walks down the street. The police show up, and then the guy says, that's the guy who mugged me. And the person says, I didn't mug anybody, dude. I was panhandling. And then they're like, what happened? And it's like, the guy will even just stand there. The person doing the mugging knows. They don't have to run. Why? This has happened. I don't know how common it is, but the guy committing the mugging says, I asked the dude if he could spare some cash. The dude said yes and handed me money. And the cops go to the guy who got mugged and say, did he ask you? And be like, yeah, he asked me if I would give him money. And they're like, sir, that's not a mugging. He was panhandling. But he wasn't. You know what I mean? The implication and the way the muggers will do something like, hey, man, why don't you give me some money and help me out? And then what was said? You go to court and this dude will be on the stand. They know it. They'll say, I just asked the guy, hey, man, can you help me out? I just need some cash. And the dude handed me his money. And I was like, thank you so much. And then the dude will be like, no, he was more menacing than that. He said, can I have some money? And they're like, are you kidding? This guy was panhandling. You see how they do it.